So now that we know how to solve inequalities that are involving addition and subtraction, let's look at how we solve inequalities with multiplication and division involved in them. So our first example is going to be 3m is greater than or equal to 6. Because we are doing 3 times m in this inequality, in order to undo the multiplication, we can divide by 3. But whatever I do to one side, I have to do to the other. And so this would give me that m is greater than or equal to 2. So to undo multiplication, we use division. So now our second example, let's say we have negative 10 is less than 5n. Now on my variable n, I am still doing multiplication. So to undo that multiplication, we would do the opposite and divide by 5. 5 divided by 5 is 1, and so that ends up canceling out or going away. But whatever I do to one side, I have to do to the other. So I'm also going to divide that negative 10 by 5 to get a negative 2. Remember, a negative divided by a positive is going to be a negative. So now, something that's going to be important when we get the solution to our inequalities is that we want our variable to be on the left side. The reason for this is because when we go to graph it, we want to think, so for the number 1, we would say that m is greater than 2. Well, numbers greater than 2 go to the right. So because it's a greater than or equal to, we have a closed circle. 2 is part of our line, and it's going to go to the right because we're talking about values that are bigger than or equal to 2. When we have it like we do in number 2, where it's negative 2 less than n, that makes it a little bit trickier to decide which direction my arrow should go on my graph. What this is actually saying is that n is bigger than negative 2. Or negative 2 is smaller than any value that we would get for n. So when I go to graph my inequality, I would still want to be going to the right because that is where values are bigger than negative 2. Now, because it doesn't have an equal sign on it, we do have to use an open circle. It's not part of our line. But because we flipped that inequality fully, now we know that that goes to the right and are all the numbers that are bigger than negative 2 are our solutions for n. So it is going to be important that we can do a full flip with our inequality to make it so that our variable is on the left side. So maybe make a note to yourself that we need the variable on the left side. And it's going to help us when we start graphing our inequalities. So let's look at a third example. So now I'm going to have x divided by 5 is greater than or equal to 2. So now with the x and the 5, we have division. And to undo division, we can use multiplication. If I do times 5 over here, that's going to make it so that 5 divided by 5 is 1, and I'm just left with the x. But whatever I do to one side, I have to do to the other, so I'm also going to have to multiply this 2 by 5. Okay, we have that variable on the left side, and so that would be how we want to write our answer. So then our final example here, let's go ahead and do 4 is greater than p over 8. So again, I have that division on my variable. I'm doing p divided by 8. So to undo division, we can use multiplication. But whatever I do to one side, I have to do to the other. So now this is going to become 32 is greater than p. This is kind of like number 2, where we have our variable now on the right side. So let's go ahead and flip that whole thing. Everything flips. About like flipping a pancake. So p is going to be less than 32. And we always want that variable on the left side so that we can think about whether we have a greater than or less than.